When you haven't found love, it can feel like everyone else has. It's in every movie, every song, and all the PDA. Looking for love sucks. Thankfully, California Psychics can give you the guidance you need to find the one. We guarantee if your reading isn't life-changing, it's free. And new customers receive 20 minutes for just $20. Visit CaliforniaPsychics.com and experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics.
This is Ray County Voices. This is Ray County Voices. This is Ray County Voices. This is Ray County Voices.
Welcome back to Ray County Voices. If you are a regular listener, welcome to Ray County Voices. If you are a first-time listener, I am one of your co-hosts, Shawn Roney.
I'm your other co-host, Miranda Jamison.
And we have our occasional co-host with us,
Micah Dillman.
And our guest today is Aaron Hulse, who retired after, it was 25 years?
31 at Excelsior Springs, 32 overall.
Where was the other year?
Had 1 year at the beautiful metropolitan area of Stewartsville, Missouri, up between Cameron and St. Joe on Highway 36.
Kind of familiar with it because, well, to provide a little context, of course, Ray County Voices is the podcast of the Richmond News and its sister newspaper, the Excelsior Springs Standard. And one of the schools that we cover here in Ray County is Hardin Central. And Hardin Central typically plays Stewartsville in sports. But I figure we'll start at the beginning. Aaron, obviously, you've been involved in baseball a long time. How did you get started as a player? I'm guessing it was with youth baseball or?
Oh, yeah. I first remembrances of baseball, probably 7 years old, living in St. Joe at the time. My dad was an assistant dean at Missouri Western State College. We were down the street from local marketplace where I experienced my first wax packs of Topps baseball cards. At that time, of course, about all we had were Saturday afternoon games on NBC and Monday night games on ABC. Somehow kind of fell in love with Reggie Jackson, who that was getting ready to have his run with the Yankees, and decided I was going to be number 44 for the rest of my life. And I think I had my T-ball experience there. And then as with my two sons' experiences, Dad was the head coach for the majority of the time in summers. I was a three-sport kind of guy in high school, but I think I knew if there was going to be such a thing as a breadbasket for me or a meal ticket, it was going to be baseball. Kind of made the tour of some junior college opportunities, redshirted at Crowder Junior College, where I think Micah's younger brother still
he's going for
trying to journey through some stuff and is finding the world's full of pretty good players. But I took a red shirt there because I believe I graduated as the youngest person in my high school graduating class. Glad I was with the class I was with, but I went into college still 17 years old, strapping 160 pounds or so. So having a year to get a little bigger and stronger and just kind of learn the speed of the game. Red shirt was great. Next year, I ended up transferring from Crowder to East Central Community College over kind of in the St. Louis area. We played all the St. Louis, the Flo Valleys, the Merrimacks, the Jeffcos of the world. And I went there because I was given the opportunity to be a starting pitcher and then play in the outfield every day on the other days, whereas Crowder was going to be either choose pitching route or go the position player route. We think you're a good player, but we got enough good players, you can't do both. So I went where I had an opportunity to do that, and it worked out nicely. Spent my final 3 years then after getting my associate's degree at East Central, played the last 3 at Central Missouri, was a mule, came back close to home. They had just graduated all 3 of their all Central region outfielders, so there was a spot to go compete and get some playing time in the outfield. Just so happened East Central and Crowder both were kind of pipelines to Central Missouri, so I ended up coming in with 3 guys that I knew from Crowder and a couple that I knew from East Central, and it was a good time. I mean, not that there's a bad time to be playing at Central Missouri right now. They're perennially in the dance almost every year, but great stopping place for me. Found out that some of my best friends from Central Missouri. I've ended up coaching against them now for the last however many years in the state of Missouri, where they went the coaching route too. So met my wife there, all that good jazz. Baseball's I followed my younger brother, Micah, who had 5 years in the San Francisco Giants organization, where he was out on the West Coast trying to make a go of it, and got to the AAA level at Fresno before he had a second shoulder injury that kind of derailed things. And he was at that age where he kind of decided it was time to get a big boy job and that sort of thing. So baseball's just, my two younger brothers both played at the University of Missouri. It's just kind of been a family deal.
I'll ask, and I'll actually go around, because I know MJ played JUCO volleyball. Micah played
NAIA baseball.
Well, because you kind of touched on it with redshirting and everything, and talking about how good people are. I'll ask you, I'll start with you, MJ. How much of a culture shock, for lack of a better term, was it when you got to the JUCO level and you saw how many talented girls there were?
I think JUCO was a little different for me because in the club volleyball world, especially if you stay in this area, you're still playing all the same people once you move up. So that it wasn't a huge culture shock to me. It was kind of nice knowing everyone, how they play.
So what was it like for you, Micah?
For me, it was pretty similar to you, Aaron. Obviously, you get there and you're going up against some guys that are 23, 24, 25 years old, now 26, 27 these years, like with all the extra years. So you're just going up against grown men, and you need that extra time to really figure it out and understand what the body needs to be able to compete at that level.
And I think for me, it was, I came from a smaller private high school. Without making it sound terribly arrogant, I was usually, if not the best player on the field or on the basketball court or on the football field, I was the second, and all of a sudden you're going into a situation where there were guys from New York, there were guys from Latin America, there were guys from all over the country coming to Little Neosho, Missouri and Crowder, because they thought they had aspirations, and several of them did get drafted and get to play at the major league level. And so all of a sudden I'm a real small fish in a big pond, and everybody there was some sort of all-state level player, if not playing in the Missouri Sun Belt team or those kind of things. So it's like, okay, welcome to the big time, real quick.
I think the way it redshirting helped them. Redshirting was the whole reason I went to JUCO level with my hip issues. I knew I wasn't going to last that long, and you do all the conditioning and all the practice still redshirting, and I wasn't going to waste a year that I wasn't playing for it to give out early. So redshirting was a whole deterrent for me to go anywhere else.
And you went to Longview?
Longview, yeah.
Yeah. They have a good volleyball program there?
Yeah, we went to nationals our first year. It was good.
And when did you graduate from? Well, at that time it was Central Missouri State. Now it's UCM.
Yeah, I was there from I went there in the fall of '89. So my springs were 1990 through 1992. Our 1990 team was a World Series team, shockingly, against Tampa. That the Mules had to face in an absolute grinder this year, where they all but had it won, and it slipped away where they had to settle for a second. We got fifth that year, but that team, it's always a pride thing for me. It was never about me ever being the guy on the front of the media guide or being I was part of a really good team when that team got inducted in 1990, or the 1990 team got inducted into the UCM Hall of Fame. That was a proud moment to say you got to be part of that group, and numerous dog piles in the middle of the field with winning big games and taking on and defeating some Division I programs that year. That's probably the biggest reason why, as a high school coach, I've always wanted to test our kids and play against
bigger schools,
as tough a competition as we could find, because I felt like that was a key signature point for Central Missouri at the time I was there. You need to go play a 3-game set against Mizzou. You need to go. If Wichita State's willing to let you come down and play, let's go play them. Let's go play Arkansas. Let's find out who we are and where weaknesses are and things we still got to tighten up before we get back to playing the Pitt States or the Emporia States or at that time, SIUE, when they were still Division II, University of Missouri St. Louis, Missouri Southern out of Joplin. Those were perennially some of the crews we were having to take on in the regional kind of championships. So, and it was no disrespect to them, thinking that just by playing those Division I schools, we were automatically going to come in and beat everybody at the Division II level. But, you saw elite level pitching all season long when we're playing the Division I's. You just felt prepped you where you were. There's nothing new that you were going to see that was going to blow your mind once you got into Division II playoff. And if I had to do it all over again at Excelsior, I think I would probably do it the exact same way. We've tried to do it with putting our kids in venues where they're pushed, they're challenged, sometimes humbled. But I think at the end of the day, it's kind of the old, I'm a fan of the old Ric Flair motto. If you want to be the man, you got to beat the man.
Mm-hmm. The old iron sharpens iron.
So what were some of the schools that you all played, MJ, in volleyball?
Lawson, Richmond.
We're talking at the high school level.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to put me on the spot. That was a long time ago.
Okay. Well, in high school, did you all play some of the tougher schools, or do you remember?
Yes. So my freshman year of volleyball, we were good. And then after that, we weren't so good. So every school is pretty tough to us, except Richmond.
Except for Richmond. And then, Micah, obviously, because you played under Coach Holst, you faced tough competition in high school.
The toughest competition for us most of the time was actually in our own class. For the most part, when I was there, we faced the Savannahs of the world a lot of times. Richmond at that time was actually pretty good, and they came over to us a lot of times. St. Pius every now and then, they were the team we battled back and forth with like crazy. But yeah, I mean, it was a good season every year. You knew what was coming.
And I think a change or a game changer for us was when Misha did say, okay, we're going to stop putting restrictions on the number of tournaments that you can play in, or the number of Saturdays where you can play double headers, where there's stipulations that people are constantly trying to get around, and just say, okay, now you have 36 games. We're just deeming 36 as the magic number now. That's the number of games you can play before you go into district competition. So if you want to play in 6 tournaments, knock yourself out. You want to play all 8 available Saturdays, double headers, there's 16 of your 36. But when you get to 36, you're done. Mm-hmm. We took that, I think we're one of the few class 4s that honestly play close to that 36 max. Now, his brother's senior year in 23, when we made the Final Four, weather worked out. We got to play so many games at home where we're on turf, where we just dodged rain. And if it did rain, it rained early in the day, and then we were able to go play at the end of the day anyway. We got all 36 in. And then when you have a nice little run where you get to the Final Four, you get an additional 6 games. We got 42 games that year. I think Micah's time, we were probably still 25 to 28, maybe. We're
30, maybe. With the team.
And so these 30, our numbers, I do some like top 15 all time kind of stuff here lately. It's given the new guys in these last 5 years a distinct advantage, because they're getting close to 10 extra games every year to pile on numbers. But yeah, for us, it's been, well, you're going to give me those extra games. We're going to go look for people like Willard that have won 3 state championships at the Class 5 level in the last 6 years. And we're going to go ahead and keep playing games against Liberty. And we're going to look for, Marshfield this year ended up being a Final Four team at the Class 5 level. That was one of our signature wins early in the year. And we might have caught them when they had a couple injuries. We didn't feel too sorry for them because we had a couple of injuries of our own where we didn't have a couple of our key guys, but just getting those extra games has kind of given us opportunities. Again, his brother's senior year, we make a trip to Springdale, Arkansas, and then end up taking on the Class 6 state champion there at Harbor, and they kicked us around, but our guys still came home talking about just that experience, and that's kind of a bar that we want to get a whole heck of a lot closer to by the time it's all said and done. And then shortly after that, we came home and actually snuck a game away from Willard in a doubleheader, and that kind of catapulted us into a really good month of May that we just kind of bulldozed people for a while.
Continuing our conversation here on Ray County Voices with former Excelsior Springs varsity baseball coach Aaron Holst, who is discussing some of the highlights of his career, which kind of leads to the question, after you graduated from CMSU, now UCM, what led you into coaching?
Well, I went, I kind of had an interesting moment at Central Missouri. I come in with an associate's degree, so I've got 63 hours or something that transferred. Initially, I was sports journalism is the route I really wanted to go. Came to Central Missouri and they put me in an audio productions class and a video productions class. I go to, I believe it was video productions for the first time, and professors immediately giving out the first project assignment. And I, thinking I was a pretty solid student, I'm looking at this assignment and it was foreign to me. I went, had no clue what I was supposed to do with this. I went to meet with him afterwards and he's like, well, have you had audio productions yet? And I go, no. He goes, well, that's a prerequisite. You're going to have to, you're not going to stand a chance. You got to go take that one first. And so I hustled back to the counseling department. And of course, every section of that was full. Next thing I know, they're looking at my retina. Well, you got a lot of English credits. I go, yeah. The communications route. They're like, well, have you ever thought about teaching? And I go, well, both my parents are educators. And so, yeah, it's kind of in the blood. I currently play baseball here. Coaching is something I want to do. Before I know it, I'm on the education track with secondary education, kept a journalism minor, but became an English major with a physical education minor and a journalism minor. By the time it was all said and done, with a double minor and going through the education block and all, I graduated at Central Missouri with 164 credit hours. So it was with the red shirt, my wife chuckles all the time because that's what happened with our oldest son too, going the education route, now getting his first teaching job. It's 5.5 years of being at the collegiate level before that got done, but went through the education block, and really the coaching part, I had such a phenomenal student teaching experience. My wife and I were engaged at that time, knew we were going to try to live in the Kansas City area. Since she was born and raised in the Kansas City area in Gladstone. So I made Liberty one of my top choices, knew it was going to be close by, got accepted there. Next thing I know, I'm finding out my teaching assignment was with Jareen Hester, who was a Missouri Teacher of the Year, like 2 years before I got my assignment with her. That was her retirement year. So I walk into a classroom that's very organized, very detailed, and she was just a sweet lady. We talked for a couple hours, kind of feeling like I had my ducks in a row, ready to start that. And she's like, well, what else do you want to do during this experience? And I'm like, well, I would love to. I'm student teaching in the fall. I don't think I'm going to look for a teaching job mid-year. I will probably plan to substitute teach that spring. So I would love to get linked up with the basketball program and the baseball program. Just so happened Wayne Van Dyne was the basketball coach and was teaching physical education in that building. I meet him 10 minutes later and I'm on the basketball staff, coaching games, including the holiday tournament, Larry Holly at
William Jewell College. Yeah.
Then I find out John Stipetich, Hall of Fame baseball coach at Liberty, was their head coach, and he finds my background. We could really use somebody to work with our outfielders. It's great that you're an outfielder. And he's like, we're not going to give you a title other than whatever team is playing that day, whether it be varsity, JV, or one of the C's. We're sending you with them to help out. So I got great experiences with 2 Hall of Fame type coaches on both sports. And the Stewartsville opportunity, I went to a teacher placement day and had about 6 different interviews. Most things were for lower level coaching, and Stewartsville gave me an opportunity to be a head basketball coach at 23 years old. And I was wet behind the ears and thought, I'm going to give this a try. And it was a great experience, and took a team that had only won 1 game the year before. And we played for a district championship that year, won 11 games, but was living in the Kansas City area, still south of the airport. So it was almost 50 minutes one way to get there every day. And they didn't have a baseball program. So when it came time to sign contracts for the next year and they were offering me full PE slate of teaching and we'd love to come back, I'm like, I think I put about 50,000 miles on a vehicle this year going back and forth. And the opportunity, Excelsior was they were the table at the teacher placement day that year Central Missouri that was closest to the exit. And I literally, as they were making announcements that things are closing down for the day, left a resume on their table. By the time I got home, there was a message on the machine about coming in for an interview for the head basketball job at Excelsior, in which I ended up just taking the junior varsity job and finding out with Coach Benucci that the second year I was going to be there, they would have a baseball opening. I kind of just did some volunteer stuff with them in spring of 95 and spring of 96. I was lucky enough to come in with a C team that went undefeated, had some unbelievable players, and I was hooked. I thought I had landed in a gold mine. Excelsior wins 2 state football championships in the first 3 years I taught there, and we were in 3 Final Fours within the first 5 years that I taught there in baseball. Bill Tuck was winning everything in wrestling. I'm like, holy cow, pretty good place to be. And 31 years later, I've turned down several other head coaching opportunities and tried to do my part to kind of help carry on some of the golden times that Excelsior had known.
What just total all have you coached at Excelsior?
So basketball, I took a 2-year hiatus in there somewhere, but I would have coached basketball at some level from junior varsity to C team to
middle school.
A lot of time at the middle school. Then once I got the head baseball coaching job, I kind of begged down to the middle school level just to have a shorter season so I could have a little bit of time with pitchers in the in-between. So basketball, 29 or so years, tried to kind of marry the softball program to the baseball program for about 5 years. Did a year with Coach Sam Brown in football. I think that was the fall of 06 as a receivers coach, cross country for 15 to 16 years. And then baseball, out of my 31 years, I would have been on staff 30 of the 31. So
I'm trying to remember, MJ, did you play softball in high school too? Or
Not in high school. And I don't know if you remember this, but it was like...
I feel like I remember you coming to one of our camps.
So I came to a lot of your camps and you and I talked a lot. And I
had a sister.
Yes.
Yep.
So weights in the summer, I had to choose. And you were the one who asked me. And it was like, I thought I was going to have a heart attack. The worst moment of my whole life when I said volleyball. But then you had a discussion with me and you were willing to let me play both and work it out with me. And Irons was not willing to let that happen, which I understood her standpoint. If I'm starting varsity as a freshman, that should be my priority. But yeah, it was like the worst moment of my life.
So a little bit more history with me and Aaron. Actually, baseball wasn't the only time he coached me. I believe you were the 7th grade basketball coach that year. You and Dolsky.
Yep.
For a year.
Yep.
We had together and we had a pretty good run with that. So
we did
a lot of good times there too.
Yeah, your class with the Austin Creasons of the world. So we did okay.
Yeah.
Continuing our conversation in Ray County Voices with former Excelsior Springs varsity baseball coach Aaron Holst, who, before our little break, we'd mentioned that he'd coached a lot of other sports at Excelsior Springs too. And he'd also mentioned Vic Benucci, who's kind of a legend in Excelsior Springs. So given his pedigree or given his resume, was it kind of intimidating following him as a baseball coach?
I think it was one of those. Sometimes I'm just goofy enough to not even think about the scenario. But yeah, I wonder how crazy were you to come in behind a guy that all he knew was winning. And I love Coach Benucci, but he kind of left the cupboards bare for me initially too. I came in that first year and I literally started. I think I did have 2 seniors that both played a fair amount for him their junior year, but then I'm starting a bunch of 140-pound sophomores, and we got kicked around a little bit that first year. But the opportunity for so many of those young guys, that was such a great parent group of people that came in and said, we got people that can work in concrete. We got electricians. We got this or that. The parents gave the ballpark a complete face change. We finally got a legitimate backstop, push back 30 feet behind. We had dugouts that were covered for the first time ever from the old chain link that had no tops to them, where every ounce of wind caught you. And you all know how the first month and a half usually is for our spring baseball when we're playing on days when it's 38 to 42 degrees and the wind is nor'easterly.
Yes.
Was uncomfortable. And all of a sudden we have a place where our guys are pretty proud of where they're at. And so that was a game changer. But yeah, to come in behind a Coach Banucki, who was just the most humble man in the world too, wouldn't know that the guy had won 2 state football, 2 state wrestling, had been to 3 Final Fours in baseball, to hear him talk. But good Lord threw some favors my way. And, you know, ultimately the dynasty, I guess, that he had built, kind of found out real quick it's just kind of a baseball town, and kids were playing a lot of high level summer baseball. And I continued to just have an influx of players come through that gave us a chance to be pretty successful every day, and finally broke the ice in 2008 with the district championship with guys like Chad Kilgore and Spencer Shockley and Luke Ganser and Daniel Jones and Grant Birch, and the names go on and on and on and on and on. Having quality assistant coaches like Bill Foster, just salt of the earth kind of human being, and a Spencer Wilkins, who was a former player, being on staff was. And once we got that first one, then it just kind of ignited opportunities to be in the big games more and more from there. But, you know, speaking of guys like Spence, that's one of the proudest things of my entire career there, is the fact that we had, by my count, 6 or 7 former players that ended up coming back as assistants in the program, that not because of me, just thinking that Excelsior Springs baseball and Excelsior Springs High School was a
program worth coming back to.
Well, it was just a place they loved being. They had a great experience. They wanted to come back and continue being part of that, and to be part of dog piles where I'm hugging on those people years later. It's just, it's warm, fuzzy kind of moments for me.
So you talk about the first season coming back with those parents that created this whole new ballpark. Now the ballpark has changed so much. Talk about those improvements as you've been there throughout the whole time.
Well, there's just like, I think the world of Jesse Hall.
Yes.
That man tried so hard, and we were this close to having things get done during his time. And he's still giving back to the community in more ways than one. Has been a huge influence on my career for being that guy that has praised me and lauded me, but pushed me. He's got a way of still tapping you on the shoulder and letting you know when maybe you're getting a little complacent, and hey, it's, you know, as well as I do, Aaron, it takes hard work. You can't stop working to get where you want, but he had a lot to do with always being supportive. And I was probably a voice behind the scene when Dr. Dan Hain was the superintendent at the time, when finally, I think we were in COVID. If I remember, I was in my office during a virtual day and got on the phone, called down to central office, said, Mr. Hain, can we talk about doing something cool that would be a legacy kind of thing for both you and I? Because I knew his time was coming to an end as the superintendent. And I was at least at that place where retirement was on the horizon, and saying, you know, we've done some pretty cool stuff here lately. How about we do something that's going to be looked at as a crown jewel in the Excelsior Springs community, and something that people are just going to be so proud of, you know, and kind of take care of a program that's been pretty solid around here, been kind of a flagship. And he's like, yep, let's talk about this. And of course, the greedy side of me is saying, Dr. Hain, let's please not do what a couple other places have done and just turf the infield and then leave the outfield, where we still occasionally get rainouts and get kind of embarrassed because, well, you got turf, but somehow you're not playing today. And he's like, nope, we're doing it. We're going to do this right. And we've hosted every single district tournament since we've got it. We won 3 in a row on it. We just received Field of the Year in the state of Missouri for this last year within the state association. So much of that just, again, it's not, it just makes me feel so good for the community and for the kids, that there's been so many good moments on it already. And the people just didn't blink when it came to, yeah, let's do this and create something awesome. And you get people from Liberty and Platte County and wherever down in the Springfield area that come visit it that just look at it and go, this is gorgeous. I mean, this is what a crown jewel to get to play on every day. And just, I feel like by us doing that, we ended up kind of being a front runner and being, I think within the next 5 years, 90% of this, I mean, it's almost going to be turf everywhere. That's just the trend that's going in the state of Missouri now. And in Kansas, did a couple camps this summer already in Kansas, and everybody's same thing. But we got in pretty early with it. So pretty cool.
Well, related to that, I know there are certain sports when it comes to synthetic turf or field turf where the athletes tend to hate it. They tend to hate it in football because I mean, Odell Beckham Jr. blew out his knee basically in a Super Bowl because of how he was trying to plant on a synthetic turf field. And I know in the sport that MJ and her mother love to hate. Soccer players don't like it either. Do you think that baseball that it's more conducive to playing on synthetic turf than other sports are?
The traditionalists and the old school nature in me, I would love to play on pristine Bermuda grass. At the same time, I know how my lower back and upper back felt after days of raking and dragging and raking and dragging and raking and dragging and putting kitty litter down and then raking in kitty litter. And by the time you run a 2 to 2.5 hour practice and then have an additional 30 minutes to an hour to try to leave the field and you got another 20 minutes to get your pitcher's mound the way you want it the next day for your guy that's going to take the mound. If I had a full-time grounds crew, it would be awesome for us to play on grass every day, and somebody else other than me and the guys that would be ripping a tarp on and off, be awesome. I love the turf now, just living where we live. I know we have a chance. We only had to practice indoors twice this whole spring. The ability to be outside every day, playing the game where it's meant to be played has been huge for me. It creates such a confidence, I think, for the young player now that you know you're going to get good, clean hops. Defensively, we've been so good for the last 5-6 years now being on that and that's something that I hear some kids' stories about where they shied away from baseball at an early age because they took a bad hop and got hit in the mouth a couple times. And next thing you know, they're kind of gun shy. Our guys are not gun shy about playing on the turf. So for me, it's kind of become, I guess, second nature now. Again, I saw Micah kind of grin, the old school nature. Yes, there's still enough Major League Baseball fields and a lot of collegiate fields that are playing on just beautifully manicured natural grass. The idea of there still being dirt on your pants at the end of the day, as opposed to a little black streak from the tire,
or a bunch of pebbles in your shoes.
I guess I've gotten to the point, if the worst thing at the end of the day is having a little bit of black crumbly stuff in your shoes that you have to dump out, it's
not bad.
It's worth it to me that it takes 5 minutes at the end of the game to sprinkle a little new stuff on the mound in the home plate area, and you can go home.
And I'll reiterate that to a T. I mean, baseball at its most purest form, the best you're ever going to see is on a pristine dirt field with a grass infield that's taken care of. But it's just, especially in this area, it's the maintenance it takes. And especially with trying to keep up with it every single day throughout a whole season, the turf just makes it so much easier, and you just know what you're going to get all the time.
So MJ, as someone who has played on hardwood court with volleyball, and now you've been playing beach volleyball?
Sand, yeah.
Or sand volleyball. Yeah. Do you have a preference?
Yeah, as an older person, the sand hurts a lot less to dive on. But as a short person, it's much harder to jump in, and it's harder to run in, and it's a lot. So no, I still prefer the court if I had to choose.
And continuing our conversation with former Excelsior Springs baseball coach Aaron Holst, because you were talking about the field being kind of a legacy of your tenure there, when did you sense that this year was going to be a good time to step away and leave your legacy there?
The idea of us having selfishly, I wanted to win that 4th consecutive district championship this year. Thought we were built to do it. We had, I don't blame all an injury. We had a couple key injuries that, essentially we played without Hunter Scoma all year.
Who is your catcher?
First team All-State catcher. And we did have a freshman come in this year by the name of Spence Gibbs that ended up being a second team All-State catcher as a freshman. But again, on the selfish side of things, Spence was going to find his way into the lineup anyway. I would have been able to use him somewhere else and have Hunter behind the plate. Kalen Bedford had upper back issues early in the year where we really didn't. We only got to pitch him 15 innings this whole spring, and he wasn't built to go a full game even by the end of the year. We really didn't get him until about April 30th to be full go. Kind of knocked us down, but to have been able to do a 4th straight, which would have never been done previously. Got 2 different teams that, Coach Panucci had a three-year run and we had a 3-year run. Would have been great. Had another couple people along the line say, there's always going to be a number of special kids in every group. And if you're constantly saying, well, I'll go after this group, you'll never retire because there's always going to be that next group of special ones. Financially, the 32nd year is kind of the magic number with the public school retirement system where I reached my sort of top earning potential and now gives me the opportunity to, I guess, what I do futuristically will be a double dipping, a lucrative potential situation for me. Part of the beauty of going the teaching route is you can retire a little earlier than a lot of people do. Knock on wood, I continue to feel good health-wise. A lot of things that I want to still do outside the baseball realm, where I've got the opportunity to do some of the travel things with my wife and see my 2 sons that are 24 and 21 now kind of make their way doing their stuff. And not wishing on them kiddos too quick, but we'll look forward to finally being grandpa. And I've got 2 brothers that are still right here 10 minutes away from me, where I got chances to see them a lot, do things with them. So all that kind of culminated together where I just felt like this might be a proper time for a little bit of a swan song and see where things would then steer me beyond that.
Now, I mean, obviously, you try to prepare yourself for your final game, but when it happens in reality, obviously the reactions are different than what you envision. So, what was it like for you after that final game?
Well, realistically, we had one good chance to score that day,
and that was against St. Joe Benton.
That was 3rd inning. We did not even reach a runner to third base in that game. We had 1st and 2nd with 2 outs, and we had Kalen Bedford up, who had really hit a ball well his first at bat that their center fielder ran down. And in the back of my mind, you're sitting there going, you hope he gets a pitch that somehow he turns around and maybe hits over the right field fence. And from what looked like a team that was unable to do much of anything, you might have 3 runs on one swing, and that changes the whole complexion of the game. Because even though he was pitching out of jams, he gets through 4 innings also unscathed, and it's zip. So you knew the chances were going to be few and far between to get some scoring opportunities that way. The way the Coy kid was pitching as well. Once they pushed their big number across the board, you're never saying die, because we've had days where we had a game against Savannah this spring where we ended up scoring 7 in an inning when we kind of looked left for dead at times and make a push, and weird things happen. But I realistically knew it was going to be hard. And the initial just shock of it being over didn't really hit that. I became a fountain of emotional tears, I think, finally when my son Simon and I finally kind of had the chance to embrace. And I initially couldn't get words out to him, even though I was this close to his ear. I kind of gathered myself, and I'm just like, "Bud, I think you do, but you don't really have any idea how awesome these 3 years of being able to do this next to you after coaching you for, my wife reminds me of that one every once in a while. The fact that I was able to coach my son playing in a Final Four himself when he was an all-state level player in 2018 to coaching alongside of him in 2023, it's a small fraternity of guys that, God's blessed me with some opportunities that just, they don't come along all the time. So that part, I just kind of fell apart for a couple minutes going, and the reality is possibly you and I won't be in this position to do this again anytime soon. And, now I'm thrilled that he's continuing on as the head assistant, and I've had opportunities to talk to Coach Lyons a couple times between then and today, and talk with some of the kids that'll return. And I'm doing nothing but rooting for all of them to to continue things. I've told them on many occasions, I know it's a little bit bittersweet for all of us. You owe it to yourselves and to give Coach Lyons the best that you've got to keep this train on the tracks. And change is always scary, I guess, a little bit for most of us. I'm sure there'll be some apprehensions, but I go out feeling like I made so many friendships and got to be a part of so many great moments on a baseball diamond in a baseball uniform that there's no real big regrets. It's just I'm happy that I got the longevity that I got, and now I've got a new opportunity on the horizon here that's going to provide me a chance to get back into the baseball third base coaching box a little bit and do what I love again. But
so as we talk about the changes for Excelsior coming, what is life like for Aaron Holtz now moving forward?
Yeah, so and to me, another kind of God thing is, the job at Northland Christian, just off of 169 highway, had come open recently. I've got a couple nieces that go to elementary school there. I was a private school kid, K through 12, went to a Lutheran school, St. Paul Lutheran in Concordia. I didn't go to public school until I went to college. It's always held a near dear place to me. I guess I kind of fantasized at times about when time comes, if a situation is in a school where I think the fit is right, I wouldn't mind getting back to my roots and going to a smaller venue again. Had a phenomenal talk with athletic director and a couple of their other admissions people. And 3 days later got offered the head coaching job there, where that'll be new for me too, to be able to just literally go coach baseball and not have to get up at dark 30 and go teach every day, but really be able to give kids the best energy I've got. I kind of feel like I'm going to get to have my best of both worlds. I can have a lot of my day, a lot of my year to go pursue things I really want to pursue, but I still get to fill my cup with the baseball side, still get to go see friends that I dearly love at state coaching clinics and ABCA kinds of clinics, where I get to keep those ties strong. I think I would speak for most coaches in that just the networking is a huge fun part of the job. We're trying to kick each other's rear end when we're on the field, but there's so many of us that when the game's over, we're calling each other, or we still meet to have dinner, and we're willing to share. I think I've said that for years and years too. I think sometimes football coaches and basketball coaches, good people, but I think they're a little reserved about giving away some of their
secrets.
Biggest secret. Baseball guy, like I say, we're trying to kick each other's rear end, but I've just found over the years at baseball clinics, you get coaches in a round table scenario. They're willing. They want everybody you want your competition to get better too, because you're, like you said, iron sharpens iron. You're wanting everybody to get better. And I've just always kind of found baseball groups to kind of be a big fraternity in that regard. And for me to be able to, if I feel well, I feel like I can keep doing this. There's still the fire in my gut to go and fist pump and give attaboys and get kids out there playing hard every day.
And typically, what class size does Missouri State High School Activities Association rate Northland Christian?
Right now, the athletic director is pretty confident we'll still go this year as a Class 1. So I'm going down. However, you look at their schedule, that was something that attracted me too. They went down and played in an early Springfield tournament where they beat Aurora, who was a 2-time state champion back in the 20 teens. They beat Lebanon, who was a class 6. They beat St. Pius this last year. We're looking to get into Chillicothe tournament. Chillicothe just won the class 4 state championship. So we'll have a private school, small conference, but I'm going to be running into some Kansas sides like Bishop Ward. That's a huge tradition as well. So comes district, Coach Holt's life isn't going to change a whole lot there because postseason we'll go play some class 1s, but we're going to test ourselves throughout the year against some bigger dudes again. And then, I've had a chance to meet most of the kids already. There's 4 or 5 of them that have aspirations of playing a little bit collegiately. Met a young man the other day who thinks he's going to get to he thinks he's going to choose Missouri S&T. I find out he's a 4.3 kind of student on a, elevated class where there's weighted classes. And then he proceeds to tell me he was also a 34 ACT. So I'm like, yeah, you're going to be a baseball coach's dream because you've already got some money in your pocket that they don't have to come up with in the baseball program. And looks like I'm going to have a couple of you with really highly functional brains as well as baseball skills to work with on the field that might make my job a little easier as well.
Well, we're gradually winding down our conversation here on Ray County Voices with former Excelsior Springs baseball coach Aaron Holst, who has become the Northland Christian varsity baseball coach. So there, because it is a private school like St. Paul Lutheran was in Concordia, are they able to offer the K through 12 equivalent of scholarships? I thought so.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tuition paying school. I haven't gotten into a whole lot of that with them in terms of all the specifics. I just know I have 2 nieces that attend the elementary school, so they are one large building with and I believe they even have a Kearney campus for early childhood with some of the pre-K. But I've been on their campus now 3 times. The athletic facility for baseball is an interesting complex. It's literally a big square, all turf, but it has painted lines going everywhere because it's used for 8-man football. It's used for men's and women's soccer, softball. There are literally in the square 2 backstop areas with bases cut out for softball fields, and then the main baseball field area. I think for that size school, it's gorgeous. It almost has a little bit of a Field of Dreams look to it because there's a cornfield.
Oh, wow.
Right behind home plate of the baseball field, which good news is they do have a turtle portable batting cage when we hit batting practice to go catch most of those. Otherwise, the kids occasionally do have to go hunt foul balls in the cornfield.
The corn.
But it just... everything I picked up, I have some friends that have sent their kids there. It's a phenomenal family atmosphere, very high achieving kiddos, very supportive faculty. A lot of the kids that I'll coach, their parents have something to do with teaching there. So I don't know that it's going to be a 31-year venture like it has been at Excelsior Springs, but that would put me fairly long in the tooth.
Yeah.
But I think it provides some new adventures and some new challenges for me that have a chance to be really exciting.
And how close is the field to the actual campus? Because when you say Northland Christian, I think of the big. It used to be kind of a mega church right off of North Oak, kind of off North Oak Traffic Way and I-29 Highway in Kansas City.
I would say it's about the same walk our guys have from our gymnasium to our baseball field. Nice sidewalk area. When I came to meet some of them the other day, some of the kids were down on the field. They came and picked me up in one of their Gators. So I was like, man,
heck yeah.
I don't even have to walk down the field. Yeah, they're coming and picking me up. So it's pretty intimate setting. Thrilled for them that there are in that size school that 3 gymnasiums. So the facility is They're currently transforming their main gymnasium for the varsity level basketball, volleyball stuff. They're kind of reworking to add some storage and then kind of shifting the court over a little bit. But I was impressed. Big video board, all that going on there. And then 2 auxiliary gyms. One of them, they're speaking my language. They even have pickleball courts painted in one of the auxiliary gyms. So looks like I won't have a hard time getting the occasional pickleball tournament set up there. And
well, because you mentioned that, I have to extend an invitation as someone who is on the mend from hip replacement surgery, but plays in a pickleball group that plays on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays in the city gym here in Richmond. We would extend an invitation for you to play.
I didn't find it was too bad a trip from Liberty today, so I may have to double my pleasure and get around in at Shirky's.
Yes.
Afterwards.
Oh, there you go.
And how did you take up pickleball, Coach?
So when I began teaching physical education at the high school in 2001, I discovered the game. It was a physical education PE unit of study a little bit at that time, which we played on much shorter courts up on the upper deck of the gym, up by the walking track, where our kitchen areas were 3 foot instead of 7. So you were intimate, played with a much harder outdoor ball instead of the nice indoor balls. So there were occasional welts left up there. But to be quite honest, the game at that time, in the pickleball world, everybody would have been considered a banger. Everybody's just trying to hit the ball hard. I think for the most part then, the idea of dinking and working on positional play and setting up winning shots, strategy wasn't thought. To me, pickleball has really blown up in the last 7-8 years.
Oh, yes.
Where it's, you now have multiple professional circuits where some of your best are 7-figure kind of income people with endorsements that equal 7-figure stuff. And I always enjoyed playing it. I played some tennis growing up, not very well, but enjoyed tackling just about any athletic endeavor. Pickleball, I've grown to love so much, especially the doubles game, just because one of those guys looks at my watch at the end of it and play pickleball for 2 hours. You might burn 600 or 700 calories and a lot more enjoyable sometimes than just beating the streets, going for a 3-mile run to do that.
Or having to chase kids half your age around a basketball court. All test.
And I've just kind of told people all the time in pickleball and golf, I think in my many years of trying those sports, I have rarely ever run into people that were just not a whole lot of fun to be around. The pickleball community is just a pretty nice group of people in general. I live right down the street from pickleball courts in Liberty off of Withers, and it is more so anymore. High school age, my wife and I'll be on a walk with the dog, and she's like, "That's still got to warm your heart that it's like 17-year-old kids they could be doing a lot worse things." Right. And instead they're out listening to music and playing pickleball. I'm like, you're 100% right about that. It's a sport, I guess, for me too, as well as golf, that I feel like I can play at some level reasonably until the day I die. It's one of those lifetime activities. You mentioned that. I would love to continue to play full court basketball. I feel good usually while I'm doing it. The next day I feel like a truck hit me. So doing that anymore, I find every year in baseball, I still throw it decent, but I have to move the protective screen up about another 5 feet in order to be able to throw as hard as I need to for the kids. And then the shoulder all of a sudden has about 3 straight days of aching pretty good before I feel like I can throw again. So I typically wake up after golf and pickleball and feel like let's do it again.
Yeah.
Well, Aaron Holsey, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And thank you to all of our listeners for following our podcast. If you would like to subscribe and further help support the podcast, we have a Patreon page where you can subscribe to us on Patreon. You can also subscribe to our podcast for $3 on Buzzsprout, which hosts our content. Of course, look for our content on additional platforms such as Spotify and Apple Podcasts and so on and so forth. And take care and stay safe and check back with us in August.
This is Ray County Voice. This is Ray County Voice. This is Ray County Voice. This is Ray County Voices.